Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Stepping Up to the Plate. So glad you could join us. As you can see, fall's in the air. You can feel it. And it's the start of 2 new seasons here with the Bruins underway and the Celtics getting ready to defend their 18th championship banner with a roster they're going to run it back. And let's see if they can win it back-to-back. But that's going to be, I guess, the overarching theme for them this year. But we also have, some excitement down in Foxborough with the introduction and the debut of Drake May to Patriot Nation. Even in a 20-point loss to the Texans, there was some reason to be hopeful about the future of this team with him at quarterback. So we'll talk about that. And then the Milton Wildcats taking a tough loss, dropping to 3-3 after a 27-14 loss at home against a very good Wachusett team. We'll talk a little bit more about them and what's ahead for the Wildcats. But first, my main man, Al Prizzuti. Thank you, Al, for being here as always. And I know that you're excited and you came adorned appropriately with your Bruins gear. And we'll talk about my Texas Longhorns too later. But Al, a lot to like, maybe, be concerned about with the Bruins. Obviously, their struggles against the Panthers being what they are. And to me, the most, I guess, disturbing thing about the latest loss against the Panthers is that they didn't have some of their best players, available. And yet they still managed to handle the Bruins.
Yeah, well, I think Montgomery said it best. I mean, the Panthers are the best checking team in the league by far.
Right.
But the Bruins lost 2 games to the Panthers, but they just barely beat L.A. Just barely beat L.A. If it wasn't for Swayman making a couple of key saves, they could have lost that game. They almost let Montreal back in the game. So they have not played. I have some thoughts here. One is they're a very lethargic team.
Yes, Al.
And I think bringing in the big guys, I thought that they would be less so, but you know what? They were outchecked by the Panthers big time. There was no way they were going to win either one of those games. And, people were sending me texts, what do you think, what do you think? And I said, they can't beat this team because this team works 60 minutes a game. They back check, they forecheck. The Bruins don't do either one very well. It's going to be interesting because the 4th line has been their best line, the most consistent line. The 1st and 2nd lines have been their worst lines. So the 3rd line and the 4th line have been their best lines.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting in a way because, these are just some thoughts. They got 3 games coming up on this road trip. They got to play Colorado, who's 0-3.
That's shocking.
Yeah. But going home, for the Bruins to go out there and play a team that's 0-3, at their home, I put that as a question mark whether the Bees can win that game.
Yes.
Then they have to play Utah, who's playing really well.
Yeah,
so you have to question whether they could win that game. The only game that they could possibly, if you were a gambler, bet on would be Nashville, the 3rd game. But I looked at some of the statistics on this team, which is really fascinating. The top goal scorers, Pasternak has 3. He's a right wing. You got Elias Lindholm, who has 2, who's a center. You got Kostelic, who's got 2, who's a center. And you got McAvoy, who's a defenseman's got 2.
No wingers.
And then you look at the no-point guys. No points in 4 games. And this is the one that's going to shock a lot. Charlie Coyle, no points, no goals, no assists.
Wow.
Morgan Geekie, a center, no goals, no assists.
Wow.
You got Tuffy, Jones, and Wotherspoon, who's a defenseman, no goals, no assists. Of that 5, 4 of them are either wings or centermen. 2 of them are centers, Coyle and Geekie, and Tuffy and Jones are both left wings.
What about your captain?
Now, if you look at this, the penalty minutes are kind of interesting in a way because Zadorov, the big guy, 10.
Yeah.
He's got 10. Zaka's got 9. McAvoy and Marchand both have 8. Pasta's got 6, which you don't want. You don't want him to be taking penalty minutes. And then Trent Frederick. Now, Another alarming thing is the plus minuses. Now, a lot of people don't think plus minuses are important. I just think it's interesting when you look at it.
Is Lori the leader in the clubhouse there?
No. Kopech has got 6, plus 6. Kostelik's got plus 5. And Beecher has got plus 6. Okay. So they've been positive on there. They're not on the ice for the goals.
I'm saying Lori on the negative side, though.
No, number 1, Trent Frederick, minus 7.
Wow.
He's been on the ice for 7 goals.
Wow.
Charlie Coyle, 5.
Wow.
And Morgan Geekie. Incidentally, Coyle and Geekie have no points, no assists, and they've been on the goal ice for 5 and 4 goals apiece. God. Those are alarming.
Sounds like, and you, Mr. Blutarski, have a 0.0 grade point.
Well, that's an alarming number. Now, if you look at the goaltender, Swayman is 2-1. He's got a 2.98 goals against average, which is so-so, right. And an 8.93 save percentage, which, in my opinion, is so-so. Corpusalo only played the 1 game. It was the first game, so he's got a 6.19 goals against. He's 0-1. He's got an 8.29 goals against. If they don't pick it up, and I don't know, and looking at this team, I don't see any, they need a goal scorer. They need another goal scorer other than Pasternak, because when they're in the power play, they go north to south, north to south. The only time they go east to west is when somebody on this side sees Pasta, even if he's got somebody on him.
They throw it at him.
They throw it at him, and the other guys converge on him, and he doesn't know what to do.
They got to cycle the puck more instead of making, tic-tac-toe passes.
I mean, I'm a Bruins fan, but I just don't like what I see off the first 4 games. Now, it's the first 4 games.
Right.
And I don't... But
you're not going to write them off just yet.
No, it's not a question of that. I don't see anybody... If Coyle and Zaka and the top 2 lines don't pick it up, they're not going to win. I mean, they might make the playoffs, but they're not going to win because they still play pretty solid, although their defense has been really tough. Lori gave up a goal the other night where he passed the puck, crossed the net over to Lindholm, and it snuck into the... Now, Swayman said he didn't see it.
Skip past in front of the net.
Lori, all he had to do was go up the boards. He goes back behind the net, which I don't understand. McAvoy, Carlo, and Lori have let in a number of goals, incidentally. So they're not that strong defense. They've given up a lot of goals.
Yeah.
As you can see by the Bruins' goals against average on the goalies, they've given up a fair amount of goals, and against two good teams, I'd say. But anyways, if you want to leave the Bees, which I think is interesting, I did watch the Celtics last night.
Yeah.
And, some interesting things I got out of that were Jason Tatum. Everybody wants to kill the kid. I shouldn't say kill him, but they don't give him really all the credit he deserves.
Yeah.
Had 24 points. He had six assists and 8 rebounds. Now this is what he did last year. But that's actually, if you look at total points that he contributed to, that's 30 points in that game.
Yeah.
Scoring 24 and getting 6 assists. Brown had 19 goals, 19 points, 1 assist. White, 23 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. But incidentally, what I thought was interesting is Tatum led the team in rebounds. Pritchard had 15 points, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds. Yeah. He had more rebounds than either Brown or White. Yeah. Now, Cornette had 10 and 1.
Well, he plays. The thing everybody loves about Peyton Pritchard.
Well, he's all over the
court, but he also sniffs out rebounds. He is playing close to the basket. He's one of those guys, you would love him on hockey skates because he plays in those greasy areas. Yeah. And the thing is that, Peyton Pritchard, I think, is now getting ready to just elevate. He's on an upward trajectory, Al. As is another kid, Jordan Walsh. I love what I saw from him during the preseason. And you know what it was? Al, I think he's benefited from hanging around Jason Tatum, watching how he worked, watching how he attacks the basket, watching his how he approaches the game. Just being an all-around, giving an all-around effort. And that's what Jason Tatum, that was his greatest, contribution to this team a year ago. And you know what? He was happy to cede the MVP to Jaylen Brown. He was happy to see that, the finals MVP.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, but I just think that he has, the good intentions in heart. He wants to see this team win. He's going to do anything that in his power to help this team
my
win.
argument on this whole deal about who's the better player, Brown or Tatum, and who's
not an issue for me.
Number one,
Yeah.
to me, it's Jason Tatum, and then Brown. I think Brown is a terrific player. Don't get me wrong, but Brown has a tendency to have the parabola. He's here, he's here, he's here, he's here. Jason Tatum's pretty straight.
Straight, yeah. He's level. Yeah, but if you want to press the gas, Jaylen Brown's your guy.
Well,
if you want to get like, turn a team over and get going, you got Jason Tatum will do that. So will Jaylen Brown. So will Drew Holiday. So will Derek White.
Derek White.
Yeah.
Derek White is probably the most underrated player on that team.
Yeah.
He's a star on any other team because they're probably the number one, number two star on any other team.
So the puzzling move that they made to me, thinking that, okay, you have the roster that you can run it back with, and you can have a team right now that looks very much like they can repeat. But they added this kid Lonnie Walker, who's a bona fide scorer, and I'm sitting there going, what's up with that?
Yeah.
And you're looking at him, and he's a guy that can probably come in and give you some meaningful
He's a
minutes.
Yeah, he's a minutes guy. I think you can't play Brown and Tatum
straight up.
You can't play them 38, 40 minutes a game. I think if you can cut that down to 32, 16, and you let a kid, these other players come in and it helps the team. I don't think, preseason in all sports, you watch and everybody gets all excited. I don't. Because, you watched the other night, they won by 50.
Yeah.
It's preseason. Last night's game, you're getting closer to starting the season. Guys are starting to come together. That's a little better idea of what this team can do.
Yeah.
And the Raptors are a good team.
Yeah.
And they won the game. They won by 1, but it was a good game to watch, and it was more season-like than preseason. So anyways, I don't think they're going to have a problem. I think they could win. I think they'd be the favorite to win 2 in a row.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, Al. And as we mentioned earlier, it was a tough go for the football teams that we love here. The Milton Wildcats took a tough loss last week at home against Wachusett, 27-14. Dropped their record to 3-3. They're 0-2 in the conference, Al, and it looks like it's going to be an uphill battle for them to get in the playoffs. Certainly they have a strong, power ranking, but you got to get wins. And there's only 3 games left beginning this week against a strong Walpole team, the team that they face. It'll be a rematch of the Division III Super Bowl of a year ago, where the Wildcats went down early 14-0 and then came roaring back 42 unanswered points to run away with that title last year. But now the Wildcats looking like they're scratching and clawing to have a good season. So 3 games remaining against Walpole at home this weekend, Friday. Make sure you get out there. And then they're at Natick the following, after a bye week. They're at Natick. They resume. Tough Natick team, Al. And then they come back home and host the Braintree Womps in their traditional Thanksgiving Day game. We'll see what the playoffs bring, but that'll be the end of season game more than likely for the Wildcats. Will be that Thanksgiving Day traditional rival game. But and then you had the Patriots, Al. I ask you, did you walk away from that game with any glimmer of hope for the future of this franchise?
Glimmer of hope. Of course, you had to have, because we haven't had anybody who could throw a 45-yard, 50 yards. He threw that ball in the air, right on target.
Dart. He dropped a dime on Budick.
That was the play that indicated to me that this kid has got it. He's also a good runner. When he doesn't see when he sees his guys covered, he can giddy up.
Yes.
And so that was good to see. So there's hope that they have the emergence of a quarterback, okay?
Yeah.
But without an offensive line, he's going to get hammered. They could win. They're going to win. I hope they win the game against the Jags in London, because they're 1-5. The Patriots are 1-5. And then you got Jones, was the backup.
Mac Jones,
he's the quarterback. He's a backup.
We could possibly see if something happens.
He actually he's like 6 of 9 in his thing, but he's also he fumbled on the first snap.
His first snap. Yeah.
But look, it's not the question of that. I think what's going to. Gerard Mayo said it best. I mean, the defense, which was supposed to be the backbone of this team, has been so-so.
Decimated. They've been decimated, Al. Really.
Well, yeah, and now they brought in a center from the Packers to take over today. They picked up the center that was that from the Packers. Now he could help because they let Brown go.
He's going to give them depth.
Well, he might, but they let what's his name go, Brown.
Leverett.
Leverett. So
Nick Leverett, the other.
They're hurting on the offensive line. I mean, it's just fairly obvious, and I think they've been somewhat hurting on the run. I would run against this team because I think what's his name, Gonzalez, Christian. He's their best
cover guy.
Although
he had some problems,
Well, he's going to have problems, but they're picking them apart. They go after Jones they went after him like he was not even playing, for crying out loud. And then like that, everybody kind of keys on him, and then you leave a guy open. So this is the problem for the Patriots. They have no depth. And I think that if they win 4 or 5 games this year, and May shows the type of guts, I'd say that he had in this game the other day, then people are going to say, you know what? They get another high draft pick. Yeah. They pick up some. This is what Belichick did. Everybody forgets what he did. He always picked up guys that were either let go or they brought in that were once great players. Yeah. And they turned out he made them back.
There's some. I know there's examples of that. But Al, when you're trying to build a roster to survive the season now, it's a different animal. And the thing is that, there was a great conundrum, Al, about whether to start Drake May or not. And I think that what maybe forced their hand was that poor Jacoby Brissett was not going to survive another game, I don't think, with the punishment that he was taking. And so that raised concerns about, well, how much punishment are you willing to subject Drake May to, before you decide, all right, let's go to the third guy. Because against this team, the Texans, who were a fierce pass rushing team, they didn't allow many yards. It looked to be an uphill battle. But you know what? Here's the thing that I say, Al. You never test yourself against a weaker opponent. You want to go up against a good opponent. And you know what? A silver lining here. Maybe this kid gained some confidence because he went up against it. He took some shots. He got back up. And you know what? He gave as good as he got.
Well,
he gave as good as he got.
You got to remember, he had two interceptions and a fumble.
Right. Well, one of those interceptions was like just all world.
Well, the first one he overthrew big time, and he didn't see the kid. That was not reading the play properly.
Well, I think that was a disconnect between the receiver and the quarterback.
You know what? So I saw some good things. I saw some other things that this team. I would say I was against putting him in there for one reason. Jacoby Brissett is 7 years, 8 years in the league.
Yeah.
He's going to take his lumps. He's still going to get up. He's a tough kid. Okay, not a good passer, but he's not a bad option with a bad team. To put in a hopeful option with a bad team, you're going to get the same results.
You're rolling the dice.
Well, you're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
You might see some things that look better, and like you say, we're more hopeful. But you could also then say at the end of it, if he wins 3 games. What are they now? 1-5.
1-5.
That's 6. So they got 11 more games.
Right.
If he wins 2 or 3 of those games, he still lost 8 games. Reminds me of the 300 hitter in baseball. I hear that all the time, but Ted Williams always said it best. You actually make 7 outs out of every 10 at bats,
right?
And you're a hero.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
And if you make 6 outs in every 10, you're a Hall of Famer.
Defense wins in hockey. It wins in football. Offense has to have. You have to have some offense. Don't get me wrong. The Bruins have pasta, and the Patriots have nothing.
Right.
Although Ramondre could have helped them there. He was out of that whole. He didn't play at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he can help you because he balances off passing and running. But
and you look at the AFC East now as presently constituted. A big game on Monday night between the Bills and the Jets, who are in a state of upheaval after firing Robert Saleh, their coach. And they went out and they got Davante Adams, a wide receiver, and that forced the Bills to go out and get Amari Cooper just to keep track with them, because now I think the Bills recognize that the Jets are coming. The Jets are loading up, and they're coming, and the Bills need to keep,
Bills are a better team.
Well, they are, and I think they have a better offensive line maybe.
Yeah, they're just a better offensive team. I think the quarterback is coming into to be. He's about here where Rodgers is up here on the tail end.
So what quarterback would you rather have at this point?
Oh, I'd take Allen over
Rodgers.
Oh yeah. I like Rodgers because he's a tough guy who he knows how to win.
He knows how to win, but you know what? He takes any more punishment.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
he could be a little bit fragile. But circling back to what I liked about the Patriots game, what I liked was that Drake May showed
leadership
and a vision, Al. He could see things happening down the field. Yeah. For example, on that touchdown to Kayshon Boutte, and it was very prescient, I think, analysis, by one of the play-by-play guys. He threw that ball before the kid was open.
Yeah, well,
and he knew where to throw it to him to get him open.
He had the kid on the fly pattern. The kid was charged, and he knew.
He threw it where it had to be.
Oh, yeah.
In order for that kid to run underneath.
Well, most of the quarterbacks do that.
So a receiver sees that, they throw it into their fourth gear, their top end gear, and they get down the field.
Well, anyways, we got a little time here. I watched the Yankees
against the Guardians. Are you shocked that it's the Guardians and not the Tigers? The way the Tigers with
in a way, but the Tigers hadn't been there for years.
Yeah.
So I thought the Guardians got in there, but the Yankees. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, you'd make a mistake with they walked the guy to get to Judge last night with the bases loaded.
That was unbelievable to me.
And he hit the sacrifice fly.
That was unbelievable.
It was to do that was amazing. But then he hit a home run.
Yeah.
I mean, Judge he's the best player in baseball. So if you looked at this,
better than Ohtani.
No, well, I mean, Ohtani's he's a Babe Ruth, and I guess Judge would be a Lou Gehrig or whatever. But if you look at the season, the Dodgers won 98 games.
Yeah.
Who do you think was second
in
wins?
Behind the Dodgers.
In all of baseball, no.
Oh.
The Phillies.
Yeah.
95. Then who?
Yeah. Then the Mets, right?
No, the Yankees with 94,
okay.
and then the Padres with 93. So if you look at that, and you say, the Dodgers are probably odds on to win it. The Yankees are still there. The Yankees, there's a thing about the Yankees that reminds me of the old Canadians. You don't want to play them because they have a legacy and a history. And I don't know about watching this. Now, before we go, I have to. You're going to hate me for this. But
what's that?
I was looking up a couple of things.
Ted Williams?
Yeah. Teddy Ballgame, 1941, hit 406. DiMaggio hit 326 and had a 56-game hitting streak. Incidentally, Ted had a significant hitting streak in that season alone.
How many out? Was it 40?
He had like 30-something, and then he didn't have it, and then he hit another 30-something, which DiMaggio did too. But a lot of plays in the DiMaggio, I know all about that. But here's the interesting thing: Williams hit 39 home runs that year, 406 batting average.
Yeah.
This is a record that is still
Wow.
here after all these years. What do you think his on-base percentage was that year?
It had to be over 9.
No, on-base percentage. So the OPB would be singles, walks.
Wow. 1,000?
No, it was the record. He got the record.
Okay.
500.583.
Oh.
You know what that means?
Okay.
He was at bat. If he was at bat,
I'm thinking OP. You know what? I was thinking OPS.
On-base percentage.
Yeah, on-base
if
percentage.
he was at bat 500 times in a season,
Yeah. He was on base half the time?
300 times.
Yeah, roughly half the time.
His career, he was a 485 on-base percentage. Why? He walked a lot.
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio didn't walk a lot. Now, I looked at the walks and strikeouts. Williams struck out 27 times that year. 27 times.
Wow.
And hit 406 and hit 37 home runs. DiMaggio didn't strike out. He never struck out a lot. I think he struck out 10 times.
Shows you what
But he
the
didn't
technician
walk.
he was, yeah.
They weren't afraid of DiMaggio. They threw the ball to Joe. They wouldn't throw it to Ted.
So he had to go.
Ted walked 100 and something times a year, every year.
He forced the pitcher to throw it into the zone.
So anyways, when I looked at that and I said, is anybody ever going to be able to do that? I don't know if anybody, if you think about it, nobody talks about on-base percentage.
Well, who right now is capable of doing that?
Well, there's nobody around. Mickey Mantle would have been the type of guy that could do it because he walked a lot. Mickey,
Well, but is Ohtani good enough to do that?
no, because well, he could. But the interesting thing is I went to a Mickey Mantle's golf tournament before he passed away in Oklahoma, and he spoke and he said, you know, I'm the only guy in baseball that spent 5 years without even hitting the ball. He said between strikeouts and walks.
Unbelievable.
If you think about that, that would be that's 2,500 times between walks and strikeouts.
Wow.
Anyways.
Well, that's great stat on you, Al. And we want to thank everyone. And I want to thank my main man, Al Prizzuti, for being here. And I want to thank you for spending your time with us here on Stepping Up to the Plate. All righty, we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.